Hey guys, so last class we completed Kingdom Protista and आज हम करेंगे Kingdom Fungi. So without any further ado, let's proceed with the class. Now we've all heard stuff like अरे यार bread पे fungus आ गया and probably fungus on your foot or something like that. Now what exactly is fungi? There are a few examples before we get to that. For example, wheat rust is caused by the fungi Puccinia, and yeast is the unicellular fungi, and yeast is used for making bread and alcohol. So say ferment hota hai and then you make bread and alcohol. That's why it's called as brewer's yeast or baker's yeast. Alright, and fungi is also used in many other commercial purposes. Most importantly, the first antibiotic that was found, penicillium, that comes from a fungi known as Penicillium notatum. So this way, this is just a few introductory species of fungi. Now, if we move on further, we can classify fungi based on their mycelium. Now, what a mycelium is, I'm going to explain. Now, except for yeast is unicellular, but baki sare fungi are filamentous. So, I'm going to draw a structure here. These might look like random threads or some random lines drawn, but this is known as a mycelium. Okay, fungi ka body is made up of a mycelium. Now if I zoom this part, I zoom it in and I find a tubular structure here. Okay, this tubular structure is called hyphae. Matlab fungi is made up of mycelium. Mycelium is made up of hyphae, okay? And hyphae, now depending on the hyphae, we can divide fungi into their different classes which I've given here, okay? Hyphae mein agar, these are nuclei, alright? If there are multiple nuclei and there is no cell division between these hyphae, then it's called as cyanocytic or aseptate. Matlab septum matlab division. So there is no division in this. But when there is a division, it's called septate, and it doesn't have multiple nuclei in such a case. Okay. Now fungi, as usual, they can be saprophytic, feeding on dead organisms. They're obviously heterotrophic. They can be parasitic. They can also be symbiotic. Now symbiotic relationships हमने पहले से पढ़ रखा है 9th and 10th में. Symbiotic relationship with a lichen, symbiotic relationship with roots of plants. So there is this thing called mycorrhiza. So mycorrhiza is the relationship of fungi with the roots of certain plants to provide it nutrition. That's it, and that is the nutrition part of fungi. Now followed by reproduction. Okay, reproduction in fungi can be divided into vegetative, asexual and sexual. Vegetative mein we've already learned these types, okay? Fragmentation. Okay, suppose this is the mycelium, it develops into different fragments. That is fragmentation. Then fission, binary fission, as it happens in amoeba, and followed by budding. Budding in yeast. Yeast is a fungi, alright? And asexual kind of reproduction is by certain kind of spores, okay? And the two kinds of spores that is used in asexual, you have to remember the names, alright? That is conidia and zoospores. Conidia can also be known as sporangiospores, okay? Okay, now most importantly, sexual spores. So fungi may sexual reproduction happens by the fusion of gametes, okay? And these gametes or sexual spores can be either oospores, ascospores or basidiospores, and we're going to be learning about each kind of spores when we come to the division of fungi. And then sexual reproduction in fungi, as we know, they have different kind of spores, and these spores are born on special kind of fruiting bodies, okay? So fruiting bodies pe there are spores, and spores are haplontic. Haplontic matlab normal. If you consider normal human DNA content, chromosome content, you'll say there are 46 chromosomes in a human, okay? Matlab abhi मुझ में 46 chromosome hai. But if I talk about my gamete, gamete में there are only 23 chromosomes, because when you fuse two gametes, if I take an egg and a sperm with 23 chromosomes, तब जाके 46 बनता है. So वैसे ही spores are haplontic. 46 को हम 2n से denote करेंगे, but half of it that is in gametes you denote it by n. So haploid spores, or you can denote them by n. Now the different processes involved in reproduction in fungi are plasmogamy. So protoplasm क्या है? When you take a cell, उसका cell wall निकाल दो. Oh, also fungi cell is made up of, very important, chitin के साथ there are a few other polysaccharides. Chitin is made up of a monosaccharide known as N-acetyl glucosamine, if I'm not wrong. Okay, where was I? Yeah, protoplasm. So अगर हम किसी cell से, if you remove the cell wall, whatever is left is known as protoplasm. So when you fuse two different protoplasts, that is in sexual reproduction in fungi, first process, fusion of two protoplasts, is known as plasmogamy. Second process, suppose these are two fused protoplasts, दिए दो, so इसके nuclei होते हैं. सेकेंड प्रोसेस कैरियोगेमी में ये न्यूक्लियाई फ्यूज होकर एक न्यूक्लियाई बन जाता है, एंड दिस इज द जाइगोट. ओके, नाउ द थर्ड प्रोसेस इज मियोसिस इन द जाइगोट. ओके, जाइगोट इज नाउ 2n. ओके, ये n था, ये n था, जाइगोट became 2n because this nuclei and this nuclei denoted n and n, this became 2n. Okay, and now this 2n divides by meiosis. Meiosis is reductional division. मतलब meiosis में हमेशा 2n से n हो जाता है. Mitosis में 2n ही रहता है. So meiosis से it becomes n, and that n number of chromosomes are present in spores. So zygote divides to form spores in fungi. Alright. So this is it for sexual reproduction. Oh, also one very important term in sexual reproduction is, okay, sometimes what happens is in certain kind of fungi like Basidiomycetes and Ascomycetes, after plasmogamy, karyogamy doesn't happen. मतलब ऐसे ही रह जाता है. So in such a stage you denote this by n plus n instead of 2n. Okay, and that kind of stage is known as a dikaryon. Okay, and that's it about sexual reproduction. So now we're going to move about on how fungi is classified. We'll be starting with the first class, that is Phycomycetes. Okay, now coming to first class, that is Phycomycetes. Phycomycetes are mostly found in marine habits. They're found in damp matlab moist places with more of water content and moisture. And these are obligate parasite. Obligate parasite matlab they have to have a host to survive on. Facultative parasite matlab they might or might not have a host. So Phycomycetes are obligate parasites. Now coming to their reproduction, their asexual reproduction is by two kinds of spores. We learnt about the kind of spores, right? Like zoospores, etc. So इसमें दो kinds of spores है. एक है zoospore और एक है aplanospores. Zoospores are motile, that means they can move, and aplanospores are non-motile. Now coming to the sexual reproduction part, sexual reproduction also contains spores, and these spores they can either be dissimilar, they can be similar in shape, or they can be oogamous. अभी dissimilar in shape मतलब anisogamous कहते हैं, similar in shape को हम isogamous कहते हैं, and oogamous matlab, suppose if you consider humans, we have a sperm and an egg. Okay, sperm कैसे दिखता है? Almost you can say like this. Egg is like this. They have completely different shape, right? So these are known as oogamous, in which the sperm, the male part is motile and small, and female part is large and non-motile. These are oogamous gametes or spores. and isogamous जिसमें similar spores होते हैं. For example, if you take any kind of algae, if I take Chlamydomonas, it's isogamous. मतलब उसके दोनों gametes look very very similar. Anisogamous is when their gametes don't look similar, and oogamous is when they look like this, non-motile egg and motile sperm. Okay, and this also one more important thing, these two spores are produced endogenously. Now endogenously or exogenously में difference क्या है? If you remember, I talked about fruiting bodies. So fruiting bodies bear spores. Okay, the spores can either be produced inside the fruiting body or outside. Now in Phycomycetes, the spores are produced inside the fruiting body, and that's why they're known as endogenously produced zoospores or aplanospores. Now there are a few examples given in Ncert. That is Rhizopus. Rhizopus is the mold you get on your bread जब वो खराब हो जाता है. And other one is Mucor, and Mucor का I think they've given the diagram in Ncert if you check the first figure. And the third one is Albugo. Albugo is the one which causes the rust on mustard seeds and mustard leaves. Okay, so that's it about Phycomycetes. Hey guys, so like I forgot one thing about Phycomycetes that is very important because that's the basis of their classification. That is that Phycomycetes में जो mycelium होता है, hyphae होता है, it is unbranched and multinucleated, cyanocytic condition. Okay, so you can expect the hyphae to look something like this, but yeah. So it's unbranched, it's known as cyanocytic condition. Now we're finally done with Phycomycetes, so let's move on to Ascomycetes. Okay, now Ascomycetes are also known as sac fungi. They can either be multicellular like penicillium or they can be unicellular like yeast. And they have various modes of nutrition: saprophytic, that is feeding on dead and decaying organisms, parasitic, and also, oh yeah, one very important part here is they're also coprophilic. Coprophilous matlab they feed or they get their nutrition from fecal matter or dung of animals, and they can also be parasitic as usual. They're heterotrophic organisms. Okay, and apart from that, their mycelium is not unbranched. It has septae or like demarcations or branching in their hyphae, which makes them septate and unbranched, unlike Phycomycetes, which were okay, I think I messed it up. Okay, which makes them septate and branched, and Phycomycetes are unbranched and non-septate. Alright, that's it about Ascomycetes ka classification ka basis. Now let's come to reproduction. Asexual reproduction, the pores are known as conidia, and conidia are produced on the mycelium from conidiophores. And sexual reproduction, the spores are known as ascospores, and ascospores are produced endogenously. If you remember, endogenously matlab fruiting body ke andar, in sacs known as asci, and these sacs are again arranged into different fruiting bodies known as ascocarps. तो मतलब fruiting body ascocarps, asci that is the sac में spore, fruiting body sac spore, ऐसा है chronology. And उसके बाद there are a few commercially important Ascomycetes which you need to know about. One is Aspergillus. Aspergillus niger is used for producing citric acid, and the second one is Claviceps. It's used for producing LSD, which is a drug. And another one is Neurospora. Neurospora is very important because it's used in genetic work. And also obviously yeast and penicillium, you already know their functions. Neurospora is used in genetic work, and it's known as the Drosophila of plant kingdom. You'll be learning about Drosophila in 12th grade, but again, just for your information. And there are also edible varieties of Ascomycetes known as morels and truffles. I think that's it. That's all you need to know about Ascomycetes. Let's proceed to Basidiomycetes. Let's move on to Basidiomycetes. Basidiomycetes might include very famous kind of fungi like mushrooms and puffballs. Most common names, if someone asks you which group are rusts and smuts included, you have to say Basidiomycetes. Okay, Basidiomycetes are, as usual, they can be parasitic, and they're also branched and septate, just like Ascomycetes. Okay, branched and septate, but they don't have asexual spores. Okay, so they only have sexual and vegetative reproduction. Vegetative reproduction takes place by fragmentation in them, and for sexual reproduction, actually there is no production of sexual spores, but what happens is the vegetative cells of Basidiomycetes, they undergo plasmogamy. Plasmogamy is again fusion of protoplasts, right? So when they undergo plasmogamy, there is a dikaryon form. Okay, so these don't fuse, so there is a dikaryon formed in an N plus N condition, and this dikaryon made the karyogamy is further taking place, which forms a zygote known as basidium. Now this basidium undergoes meiosis. So when a cell undergoes meiosis, it actually produces 4 haploid individuals. So it produces 4 haploid basidiospores. These 4 basidiospores are exogenously produced. We learned that all the spores in Phycomycetes and Ascomycetes are produced endogenously, but in Basidiomycetes, the spores are exogenously produced on the basidium, and they're stored in fruiting bodies known as basidiocarps. Similarly, as Ascomycetes made the fruiting bodies were ascocarps. Okay, and after that, some common examples: agaricus. Agaricus matlab mushroom, khane wala mushroom. Then Eustilago is known as smut, and Puccinia is known as rust, and this causes the wheat rust in wheat crop, obviously. Now let's move to Deuteromycetes. So now Deuteromycetes are interesting stuff. So Deuteromycetes are known as imperfect fungi because isme we only know the asexual and vegetative part of their reproductive life. We do not know the sexual part. So what happens is when they were segregating fungi based on their asexual, vegetative and sexual spores, they weren't able to identify the sexual part of Deuteromycetes. So what they did is, when they identified the asexual and vegetative part, they placed them in Deuteromycetes, but when they identified the sexual part of it, they shifted the organisms from Deuteromycetes to Ascomycetes or Basidiomycetes. So that's why they're known as imperfect fungi. And they're obviously again branched and septate like the other two, Ascomycetes and Basidiomycetes. They're saprophytic or parasitic. Also, one important part about Deuteromycetes is they help in decomposition of litter and in mineral cycling. And some examples for them are Alternaria, Trichoderma, and there's one more, I forgot the name. Yeah, Collectotrichum. So that's it. All you have to remember from fungi part is whether it's septate, the mycelium is septate or branched or unbranched. Second thing is at least 1 or 2 examples. And also you have to, if this is only for boards, but if you're planning for need, then it's important that you know all the examples by heart. And third thing is the different kind of spores it produce, like the vegetative spores, the sexual spores, the asexual spores. And that's pretty much it. You don't have to know much about fungi anyway. Alright, so we're done with fungi. We'll be starting with viruses, varioids and lichens because Plantae Animalia will be covering as a whole chapter further, right? And that will complete this chapter, biological classification, once we're done with viruses. So yeah, we're done with today's class. So please share it with your family and friends who might need it. And thank you for watching. Do like, share and subscribe.